see like who you were on the inside and, you know, how you feel. So it's really hard for me to say, but the ladies have decided that you are not ready to love.
I really am curious as to why we weren't shown the date between Ed and Nicole, because we showed just briefly, and then for him to be dumped at the end, it makes me question: did he tell Nicole that there was no romantic connection there? Is that why he went home? Personally, I feel Darius should have gone home. That's my opinion. And sadly, Chris made his own bed. He's like Donna, and it was just a matter of time before the girls got him out, and now they've got him out. I don't know who they'll get out next. Pleasantly surprised that Devon is still there, given how much of a hard time most of the girls gave him at the beginning. So the idea that he's still there is an eye opener for a lot of people, that, you know, never judge a book by its cover, and never ever let you allow sort of first impressions to ruin something that could be good, because a lot of the ladies had written him off after the first interaction, and now here he is. He's still in the running for Ready to Love, when the guys that were it guys on day one are being dumped left, right, and center. Anyway, hey there, thanks for stopping by. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Ready to Love, season 11, episode 6. So we're still at the dumping. You have the bottom two girls, obviously Donna and Christina, sort of waiting their fate, because the guys had a conversation with Tommy in the last episode and decided who they felt wasn't ready to love. And so you have Devon sort of announced that with Donna, the problem is the guys felt she wasn't religious enough. And so Donna, on her part, thought she was going home. Even Christina thought Donna was going home, because she said, Donna's already been in the bottom, so I'm not worried. And so Donna was saying that the guys have sort of misunderstood her. And it's like, you did the same to the other guys as well. So you misjudge people, and people are entitled to how they feel. Christina, they felt she had unrealistic expectations. They should have just said they felt she was materialistic. They felt she was materialistic, and they didn't want to be competing by sort of paying for whatever she needed. So the boys decided to dump Christina. Is that the right decision? Yes. Of the girls that were in the bottom, yes, because she was there for the theatrics and there for the drama. Even when she was told you're going home, she gave them the peace out sign, and she said, you're all beautiful. If you can't match what my needs, then you're not going to be able to provide for me, and so we're done. Okay, love, keep it stepping. So you then have Tommy tell everyone that this week their goal is to sort of open up and be vulnerable about something that is very deep. And so the girls are in power. They get to choose which guy is not ready to love, but the girls need to sort of go out with the guys and sort of divulge sort of something very their innermost secret, more or less. Anyway, on the first date, you have Nicole go on a date with Donna, Ashley, Vince, Steve, and Chris. They went for a yoga session. Vince, I like Vince. I think of the guys, the two guys that I like are Vince and Devon. I think they're my two favorites, because they seem to be really open and wanting to get to know people. Yes, I also like Cardi and Steve. I think they're genuine. The other guys, I think, are just there to be on TV. So they have their session, and then after the yoga session, you have them sit down in couples and have a conversation. You had Donna sit down with Chris and have a chat, and Chris said, you know, when he was younger, he was overly romantic. And then he learned to speak, and so he now uses speak as a way to sort of attract the ladies, because he realized that until he sort of grew into himself and he became more handsome, he had to sort of have something as a default. Sadly for Donna, I don't think she's very flexible. She's a mathematician, so 1 + 1 to her is 2. It's not 1 + 1 + 1 - 1 to get to 2. So that's her problem, because for her, once she's written someone off, it seems like she's not willing to go back. And so she was saying she understands why Chris is the way he is, but sadly for her, it's a no. There's never going to be anything romantic there, which is really sad. You had Nicole sit down with Vince. They were really cute, because they were really sort of having this yoga session where they were holding hands. And, Nicole spoke about her fear of becoming a parent. And I think when you are not yet a parent, I think this is something that is scary to a number of people. And so when you become a parent, some people bring that anxiety and fear into their sort of role as a parent, and this can affect how they raise their children. I love that Vince gave an example of himself, which was very thought provoking because I would never have expected him to do that. I would have just assumed he was going to be the class clown throughout the experience. So he said to Nicole, I have two children. And one time I said to my children, you have to give me grace because at the end of the day, this is my first time being a parent. So every day that I'm raising you is my first time of experiencing that. And his daughter, it seems, told him that, oh, well, we are raising you just as you are raising us. And I think that is genuinely true for that sort of relationship. I love that Vince was very understanding and didn't use that as something to sort of strike off Nicole, but actually used it as an opportunity to sort of open up about himself and allow Nicole to know that this is an experience that you're constantly going to be learning. The role of a parent, no one can perfect it. You're always learning. You're always sort of adjusting according to the child that you're raising. So I loved that. I thought it was a very good conversation. You then had Steve have a conversation with Donna. Um, well, there was a fear, that Steve said, he was worried about the gap of, the length of time that Donna had been single. And Donna mentioned about her unsuccessful relationships in the 20s and why she felt the need to take time out to sort of learn about herself and learn about what she wanted from a relationship before she decided to be in a relationship. I thought that was good. You had Steve sort of after that chat say he felt that Donna was very serious about relationships. So going into a relationship with her, she wouldn't be mucking about or playing games. Steve, on his part, said his mom passed away, and because of his mom passing away, his relationships with the females in his life are very strong because he relies on them a lot to sort of fill the void that his mom's absence has left for him. You then had a conversation between Chris and Ashley, which I didn't quite understand because they spoke at the car, and he was saying, he had a relationship where he moved too fast, where he fell in love with someone very quickly, and as a result, when she ignored him, he really struggled. Ashley, on her part, said, she can't deal with a man who's sort of struggling with his own fears or his own concerns from a failed relationship, so she doesn't think he's the guy for her. Sadly for Chris, I think he put the girls off by day one, going to Donna and sort of trying to question what the other girls were saying about him. And that must have traveled around the girls, and this is why they were put off by him. Bella and Lauren's date, I don't quite understand it. Well, Bella, it seems everybody knows that Bella and Dominic have a very strong connection. So it's surprising that some of the girls are still trying to explore a connection with him. He divulged that he's got a 1-year-old child, and the child was a surprise because he had a one night stand with someone, and then they contacted him 4 months later, or when the child was 4 months, and told him that they were pregnant, and so now he has a child. He said the child lives in Miami, but he's trying to make it work. Do I think there could be tension? Yes, I do. I think especially if this child is very young, I don't know whether that mother understands that Bello says there's no hope of rekindling his romantic connection with the mother. And if anything, it's just going to be a co-parenting situation. So I don't know. Lauren seemed open to it. Hopefully it works for the two of them. But I think there's going to be a lot of challenges in that situation. I really do. So we had Dominic and Cardi go on a date. They went on a date and they played trivia. I think some people are using this as an opportunity to make sure that they have a lot of options open because it didn't make sense. We all know very well that Dominic and Bello have a great connection. So I'm surprised she's now going out with Cardi, given the fact that she's also got another strong connection with Devon. Anyway, they did play, trivia, and they didn't do very well. I think the questions were about Blackstreet or Backstreet. I didn't quite get which one it was about. Anyway, you had Cuddy reveal that he's got a 3-year-old daughter who he's co-parenting with the mum, and from birth, it seems they've been co-parenting and they've had a very good relationship, co-parenting, his daughter. And so I love that for him. I love that he was open and he spoke about his child, and he wasn't sort of very superficial in what he said. I think Cuddy is a great guy. I really do. I think people misjudged him as well, and hopefully someone will give him the opportunity. And maybe he could match up with someone like Ashley, not Ashley, maybe Nicole actually. So we had a group date, which I think personally I found a bit challenging. And I don't quite understand why Lauren seemed to be responsible for a couple more dates than anybody else, whether she is producer's pet or whatever. Anyway, she arranged a group date where it was herself with Shannon and Devon and Darius. And so they met up for a meal, and it was really cute to just see them just relax. And, the way the ladies are sort of now suddenly feeling Devon, given how they felt about him on day one, is a bit shocking. I know he's got anxiety. I think this is why they allowed him to sort of announce who was being dumped of the females. Anyway, so they sat down in a group and were sort of talking about their experiences as as young adults. You had obviously the professional student had to bring up the fact that during her recent study program, and it's like, Shannon, we don't need to continue to hear about your studies. But her story was very sad in the sense that she said, she fainted while she was studying her last program, and because of that, she's got concussive syndrome, and it still affects her today. So I assume she's got some sort of memory loss. She might have headaches, and she might just feel unwell in herself. So it was really sad. And so I love that people like Devon appreciated how open she was about the experience, and how genuine she seemed to be, regardless of the fact she had to name drop her recent studies. With Lauren, she said her parents had a terrible relationship, so she was skeptical about relationships and guys. And I think this is why she's been trying to vet out all the guys to see who is seriously looking for a romantic connection and who's not. Darius was just playing the part that I said he's always playing. I think he's playing the cool guy part, because he said, in school, his mom told him that the girls would run up to him and they would kiss his hand every single time. They would be waiting in a line and they would kiss his hand and welcoming him to school. And so this is something he grew up with. And it's like, maybe he should have spoken about something more, because him being that superficial was really sad, because someone else was more in depth, or was more, yeah, more in depth about their experience. Because you had Devon speak about his parents, how they divorced when he was 6 years old, and how that impacted him negatively or positively, because now when he goes into a relationship, he wants the woman in his life to know that he's fully healed, and he will not sort of bring that baggage into the relationship with him. I think Devon has had the sort of greatest transformation out of all the guys, and I think I really hope he's able to look at someone like Nicole. I think I would align Nicole more with Vince or Devon. Everybody else, I think, needs to take a step back, unless it's probably Steve. Okay, I think Nicole, in my opinion, is number one anyway. So you then had Nicole go on a date with Ed. I didn't quite understand this date, because it was very ox galore, because you had to ask him, how do you feel the pain from your past relationships or from your past experiences has affected how you present in relationships? And he kept and eyeing, and that whatever he said, production didn't want us to know, because they were going to dump him. Whatever he said, they didn't want us to know, because I'm very surprised that we didn't hear that. All we heard was Nicole say, if a guy cannot open up to her, then she never gives him the time of day. So I, I'm sad, because she really seemed like she had a crush on him. So I'm really sad that that experience didn't go the way she wanted. Ashley and Bello went on a date. Ashley spoke about how she went to therapy and how she struggled, with a loved one suffering from mental health disorder, bipolar, I think she said, or schizophrenia. And that really affected her negatively, because she broke down and she started crying. And Bello stood up and sort of was trying to console her. And prior to that, Bello was telling her that, I'm not married, because the girls, I think, are questioning, if you are this amazing guy, why are you still single? Why haven't you found someone? And it's like, I get it. Some people are more focused on their career before they settle down. Some people are just playing games and are just hiding their negativity very well, so no one can actually see their faults, and everyone will always think they're the greatest guy until they're in a relationship with him. And so with the guys. So I hope this is not who Ed is. I hope he's not playing with the girls and is actually serious about them as romantic connections. Anyway, you then had everyone sort of meet up with Tommy for the final deliberation. The girls came out and they spoke about, the guys. You had Dominic say she had a date with Kay. They played trivia. They didn't do very well, but he's a very great guy. Nicole spoke up on behalf of Vince. She said Vince is very good. He's very funny and she really enjoys the time with him. You had the likes of Donna say that she liked her time with Steve, and you had the girls sort of say he opened up about his mom passing away. That was really something that allowed the girls to sort of get to know him better. And so I don't know. I really don't know. Devon, they said he was funny, and then Bello, they said he's kind-hearted and he's very intentional. Do I think so? Maybe. But do I think Dominic is the right girl for Bello. I don't think so. I really don't. I think Bello maybe is there more for the experience than anything else. I don't know how genuine he is, given how he's presenting himself. If he's that amazing, why is he single? The girls, the guys they had problems with were Chris. They said he's overpowering and he's very insecure. One of the ladies said Darius. They said it's like dating your pastor, so they can't see themselves moving away from that. Vince, apparently, someone said they're going to butt heads about the finances. I was like, well, you can't expect someone to bring in the bacon while you're not bringing in anything. So, hey, it is what it is. Ed, sadly, the ladies felt he was unavailable because of how he was very distant. I think there were certain things he was open to sharing on TV and certain things he was not. And sadly, this didn't go in his favor. So the girls were then told that, you need to take them out and tell the guys who you feel is not ready to love. Ashley went on a date with Chris, and Chris was saying, he's got his top 5 ladies that he really likes. And Ashley was saying to him, how can you have top 5 when there's only 6 people left? So who is the one person that you can't stand? And so he was told that, the ladies feel you're very detached, you're giving friendship vibes, and you're too challenging. I think he made his bed when he wanted to sort of play the girls and sort of want to know what's going on and sending some people to be his spies. And in doing that, the girls were put off by him and they were never able to recover from that. Ed, as soon as he sat down, Nicole started crying, and I was like, "Why is she crying?" So she was crying, and then eventually she was able to sort of speak. I think production had to sort of silence her and sort of pacify her and sort of allow her to speak. And she said, Ed's problem is that you need to open up. You haven't opened up to the girls, and you're moving very slowly. And so the ladies are really struggling with it. Chris was told he was not ready to love. Sadly, Ed as well was told he was not ready to love. I'm surprised that they did a double dumping for the guys. Maybe there's going to be a double dumping for the girls as well. And because of that, Nicole started crying. I think Nicole's biggest problem was she didn't know where she stood with Ed. Had she known where she stood with him, she might have been able to fight more for him, but because she didn't know where she stood with him, this was the challenge whereby she didn't know whether to continue to try and fight for a relationship that's never going to prosper because everyone was questioning that. It's been 15 years. Maybe in your head you see a romantic connection, but he doesn't. And sadly for Ed, he didn't make his intentions towards Nicole known for reasons best known to him, whether he could never see that as a romantic connection or what happened there. So he was dumped. Nicole was devastated. She had to storm out. Ed was trying to console her. And so I hope she really finds a person. And if Ed is that person, amazing. If it's somebody else in the experiment, amazing. But I hope Nicole finds a person. I can't wait to see what happens next episode. Thanks, guys, for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Click on the link in my video to watch my review from episode 5. Bye, everyone.